Welcome back, everybody, or hello to all the newcomers. Today on Movie Mondays, we're going to be looking at Autobot Longarm, who is painted, not modeled, after the tow truck used in one of the final battle scenes of the first movie. I say not modeled, but painted because, come on guys, the tow truck used in that movie was not this wide. Maybe a little bit more narrow where the actual panel lines are, where you see here, but not being that extremely thick. And of course, he is the toy variant, so a lot of liberties are taken with this. But let's judge him as a toy and not representation out of the film. Now, he is supposed to be one of the drones out of the video game / expanded universe. But the downside is to him, when you talk about the actual drone part of him from the games, his head is a different model, or at least a different CGI model. That at least I've noticed, or at least out of the one version that I have played, and that was the Wii version. Haven't played any of the versions yet. Maybe it's more accurate. Maybe they couldn't really get the toy right. I'm not sure. But how is he as a toy? That'd be the first question. And he does move very, very solidly. Now, for towing things around, mine is a little bit weak. So the minute I do put anything on here, it just falls flat, and I can't really tow anything. But the whole joint by itself, though, does hold some weight. So you can actually pull this down, and he'll be popping wheelies all day long. And the cool thing is, he actually got some molded detail there in the cab. Now, I do wish that, because you can actually pop these doors open as part of the transformation, I do wish you can actually slide in like a little figure or a little representation of, I cannot remember Megan Fox's character. Holy crap. Or anybody else. And I know someone probably 3D printed one a long time ago, but I won't be looking for it anytime soon. But anyway, let's look at the detail. He does have the little doors and everything, and I do dig this. How to help not break up the look. This is one single drawer, and that's the actual hinge, and these are two drawers, but that's right down the panel line, so it actually matches up really nice. Some of the panel lines are actually really well placed. Like, this is, the door panel lining is actual door. This actually does look like the hood. That's one thing I've noticed when I was actually taking a step back to look over this thing out now, is that most of the panel lines, are naturally placed, which, gotta give him a little props here and there. And of course, as being a drone, he does have a sneak attack or special fighting mode. All you gotta do is just do all that, bring this around, and boom, he's firing out of his butt. Okay. I mean, with Swindle and his brother, I can understand, because they can maybe potentially use it as a speed boost. But I'm not sure. But this does start his transformation sequence, and which, by the way, let's go ahead and get that started. I really, really do dig how nice and tight the gun and the towing equipment all nicely pack up like that. Now, there is one downside to it, but I'll get to that here in a minute. So next up, we come down here. We'll basically pop open the hood, and that will basically just mean we'll just instantly just start dragging down the legs. And that basically will transform the legs all at the same time. And of course, you just flatten his feet out, and boom! I mean, you're done. You're done with his feet. You're already done with his feet. Like so. Uh-oh. Oh, baby. I mean, you can already see his robot mode right blooming there. So next thing we do is that we pop open the doors. We bring down the side panels here, like so. Bring these little things up. Come around here, push these black back plates away. Push these down. Bring the arms forward, and then split them apart. And you're basically done. Mine's a little bit loose, so it's kind of weird to get him straight. Arrgh! And straight on his head. And then, upon first look of him, he looks very footballish. like I remember seeing some people who played football where when they're wearing the pads, you can definitely tell where the pads are because they're really big and bulky. But then, like the arm or the leg connected to them is like very small, kind of like, you know, knee pad, leg, foot, or boot, leg, knee pad. Me toppling him over. I mean, just looking at him, he looks very pleasant to the eye. The colors match up very well. It's a very nice color scheme. And that head is actually pretty good itself, especially with a nice typographed little Autobot symbol there. Try to focus on it. Uh-oh. Just wanted to focus on my hand and not the symbol. There we go. There we go. And of course, you can already tell he does actually have some nice orange light piping to him. I just don't like when you come back here, he's wearing the cab. I mean, they did nothing to do with the cab. I'm guessing it was part of the licensing agreement to actually use this actual guy's truck. They had to make it look as fully representable as possible. That's why all the panel lines and everything look so natural to it. But then again, you come down to this backpack and it's here. I mean, what am I going to do with this? I don't want to screw it off, but I mean, could we at least not like break it apart a little bit more so it fits more natural, other than just having he has a cab on his back with wings. The dude's sporting wings. This football player is sporting wings for some odd reason. And another thing that I have to complain about is his actual gun. As cool as I like this gun, and it does fire alright for a 10-year-old toy, is that it's screwed on. I know this guy's notorious for this, is that his gun will not leave his hand. Granted, you can take the screw off and put it in his other hand where there's an actual peg for when he's actually transformed, but then it'll never fit in his right hand ever again. But on to articulation, where he does have a ball joint and both of his shoulders can move actually front and back, so he can actually, he can dab. God, I don't know why I just did that. Pseudo double jointed elbows, but thanks to the armor plating on the outside of his arm, he can't really use it that much. My waist swivel is very loose. I do need to go in there and tighten it up a little bit, but I mean, like, just trying to sit him down is like in between the gun, his weak, in between his weak waist joint. I end up having most of the time I have him pointing it down as a pseudo prop to make sure he's not lunging forward and it looks like he has a hunchback. Wait, he already looks like he has a hunchback. Ball jointed at the hips with the very big stem showing. Way more than a 90-degree bend at the knee, mostly because of transformation, and you can bend the feet front and backwards, so you can get something out of him if he won't. Now, keep in mind, mine is somewhat loose. But overall, he is a nice little figure to tinker around with. If you can find one, where you can actually where you can actually tighten most of the joints, and he can actually hold a pose. Again, these toys are 10 years old, so some of them are really showing their age. Or it also depends on who's actually pre-owned them before you, unless you buy a brand new boxed one, which depends on how much you get it for. And if I remember correctly, he was never repainted. He was basically a one and done, mostly because of how he was actually one of the few drones to actually pop up in the movie. So probably due to license, he never showed up again, at least in this line. Or at least as of this recording, I haven't really seen him pop up anywhere else outside of this use. Again, probably due to the licensing. It's pretty much the same thing where you see Ironhide or Bumblebee. You'll see different color variations, but you won't see molding differences. Which does explain a lot of his absence in the expanded universe. Other than that, what do I say? What would be my final say about him? At least when it comes to my figure alone, again, mileage may vary on the copy you may purchase from another person or brand new out of the box. I can't say he's a pass, but I'm not telling you to go out of your way to get him. If you find him for like $8 or $9, or if you or if you come across a Facebook seller that is the more you buy, the more you save, then I say pick him up as a he's my he's my middle grade. Throw him into a lot or pick him up for cheap. Other than that, I say he's a pass. I say he's a pass.